Yeah, all right. I'd like to call the Personnel Committee to a meeting to attendance. Clerk Galiazzi, can you take attendance?
Alderman Tom Grady.
Here.
Alderman Ted Grady.
Aye.
Alderman Rapella.
Here.
Alderman Nichols. Alderman Taylor. Alderman Sevenick. Alderman Langdon. Mayor Merkus.
Okay, at this time, would entertain a motion for the minutes from the last meeting? Alderman Rapella?
Thank you very much, Alderman Grady. I'll make a motion to approve the minutes for the Personnel Committee dated 12/2/19.
Is there a second? Second by Tom Grady. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Minutes approved. We have two items on discussion items. First, we'll start Alderman Stan Sevenick.
Thank you, Chair. At this time, I believe that these are policy decisions that we as a body have not discussed. There's also some interpersonal situations involved here. We are referencing individuals by their names. I don't find that appropriate at this time. Therefore, I believe that these matters should take place first in a closed meeting where we can discuss these policy decisions, bring them back to the public, and then make recommendations. With that, at this time, Mr. Chairman, I'm going to move that we take no action. We have another meeting in the future, potentially a closed meeting, and discuss these policy changes. Therefore, I'm going to ask that we adjourn at this time.
I'll hear from Captain Attorney.
And if I could just ask, what is the topic that you'd be discussing in closed session?
All the policy decisions that were thrown at us at this time to be placed on the Personnel Committee, it seems as though positions have been already guaranteed, salaries, grades, all that. I think those are policy decisions that need to be, and individuals that need to be discussed first as a group, as we did with the finance or the administrative directors. You're going to be changing the administrative service position to a finance possible director's position. You're going to place the grade 2. There's multiple things that are being brought forward that that did not come from this body. And we had to actually approve changing from the finance director to administrative service director. How do you know we don't want to maybe possibly still have an administrative service director? I mean, we might want that. I mean, we didn't get an opportunity to discuss that as a body. We didn't get to discuss the individuals who may take these positions, and I think those are sensitive situations that should not be in the public at this time, and they should be decisions discussed first in a closed meeting in order to make sure that we're not doing anything illegally.
And if I can just comment on
Sure.
what the Personnel Committee does do is discuss policy decisions, and policy decisions cannot be made in a closed session.
We did that.
I'm looking at item 1, senior center operations and staffing. I wasn't sure exactly what you were referring to. Are you referring to both of these items? Or?
I'm referring to both of them,
Okay,
both items 1
so
and 2.
for
You're
this-
changing the whole operations of the senior center. You're
And
changing.
if I can ask, if I
staffing
have
levels?
the floor.
All right,
Sure.
let her finish, Stan.
Well, she's asking. I'm
Yeah,
giving
I-
her the
I know.
answers.
For senior center operations and staffing, recommendations, I'm just going down to the recommendation section, which would be, it's asking for the creation of a position that cannot be discussed in closed session. Where the placement of a position is with regard to salary range, that cannot be discussed in closed session. Item 2 is the creation of a part-time senior activity coordinator position. Again, that is a position, it's a decision that is made by the Common Council. It cannot be discussed in closed session. What the rate is, the hourly pay range, that's exactly what the Common Council does, is it sets the range, what the minimum, midpoint, maximum is of a position. Again, that cannot be discussed in closed session. Approve the creation of a part-time clerk senior center position. I don't see any names, and in fact, that would be, that is, just looking at what the positions are, they would not be positions that are appointed by the Common Council, but it's the creation of a position, and the Common Council would decide whether or not it wants to do that, and that would be an open session, the same with the hourly pay range. Looking at the next one, which is for the Administrative Services Department. It is, action requested again is if the Common Council desires to change the Administrative Services Director position to a Finance Director, that again cannot be discussed in closed session, referencing what is a particular position. The placement of it is also something that has to be discussed in open session. If you would be adding the Human Services Director to the City Attorney position, that again would be an open session. A change in a Human Resources Coordinator position, again, that is something that's an open session to be discussed and debated by the Common Council, and if it's decided to do that, where it's placed on a salary range is also an open session.
Everything, point of order.
Recommend.
Point of order, Mr.
Alright.
Chair. She's
Recommending-
belittling the whole situation.
No, I'm
I'm
giving
stating
an
my point of order,
legal
please.
opinion.
I have the floor now. I stated a point of order.
Point of order, Stan, go ahead.
My point of order is that she's belittling the whole thing. We do realize that. My point that I am making is somebody's making all these decisions and telling the council what you want. Well, that's not how it's gonna operate around here, okay? So we need to have some further discussion before you just throw this into the lap of this committee and that we vote on it. And just because some of these, and not only that, but these things weren't even budgeted in our last budget, our tax bills went out. I think that there's no need at this point. I'd like to know where this all came from. I'd like to have an opportunity personally to speak to
I'm
the
not sure
mayor
what the point of order is.
and the chair. Well, I said you're just belittling the point, okay?
She was
That's what
just
you're doing.
naming the facts that you did ask for, Stan,
Yes.
why it can or cannot be in closed session.
I'm gonna ask
She was
for, that we vote to adjourn. I didn't vote.
And if I could just
And I didn't-
finish, the, if there's an appointment, there's only certain positions that are appointed by the Common Council. And the appointment of a Administrative Services Director, because that includes the comptroller, treasurer position, that would be the Common Council that would appoint that person. How they wish to, if they don't, how they wish to fill a position is up to the Common Council.
Right, and I think
And
with,
that would be determined in open session, but they would have interviews and things and closed.
also though, I think with what has transpired here and what is going, I can ask the other council members what their thought is on this for adjournment, or do you want to continue on with this, but the way some of this has been put forth, I think there is need for further discussion before we act on that, because I have a feeling that the actions of some of the council people on some of these would not be in favor of what the city is looking to do in best interest. So I kind of agree with Alderman Sevenick.
Well, that's what you would do today, is discuss what you would like.
Well,
Yeah, you know,
Yeah.
that's the problem we
That's-
have here at City Hall. We think that we will decide for you, council, and then you vote for it. And there needs to be further conversations, I believe, with, I'd like to talk further with the mayor on why we're gonna change out from the administrative service position to the director. We spent thousands of dollars on a study that told us that this is the direction we're supposed to take. We had an experience that didn't work for us. You're doing all this salary stuff again with your midpoints and your maximums, and then we're changing the whole scope of the senior center.
well, we knew, Stan, that the senior center was going to become under the Menasha type.
And we
did-
may
we
not
did-
wanna
we did
go in
talk
that
about it.
direction. That's the point
True,
I
but
wanna
we did-
make. We may
correct.
not wanna go in that direction.
No, but we did agree to
We only
that.
agreed to a
Budget
possible
purposes.
position over there and changing things out. We didn't take a vote to change it yet. That's a policy, again, another policy decision that we haven't done. And then we have, we're changing titles of a resource coordinator, to a deputy director position. We're changing a grade, we're changing salary midpoints.
Well, that's probably why
And
gonna
the
vote
city
on it
attorney
then.
said we're not using names. I see we do have a name, on item 4 here. Not that I'm opposed to that individual. I'm strongly in favor of that individual, but we shouldn't be doing that at this point. We haven't come to the point of making these kind of decisions as a body, and I don't think it's only done right now today. I still think there's more, we need more discussion on this. And I also believe that the chair wasn't even filled in on any of this, and it's on his agenda, and he should be, filled in more and play a bigger role in this, in these matters, and I'm not happy with what we have before us today, and I'm not ready to take any action. So, at this point, I've made a motion that I'd like to adjourn and proceed with this in the future.
Mayor, do you want to comment on this?
I guess my only comment is that this was the point to start discussion. You don't have to agree with what's on the agenda, but at some point, we have to put something on an agenda to start that discussion. And as staff, we felt that this was a good place to start discussion. I think that the senior center is imperative that we start moving forward because we plan on running the senior center February 1st based upon the budget discussions. And if we don't get started moving forward on this, we're not gonna be able to operate the senior center February 1st. So if we don't wanna take this up tonight, I would ask that we call a special meeting to discuss that in the very near future.
Well, I'm going to,
Randy has his mic
No.
on, and so does.
Oh, go ahead, Becky.
well, then you turn yours off, Randy. It hasn't been
alright.
seconded.
The motion takes precedent.
It doesn't let me do the button here for,
Oh, my
oh,
mic,
I'm sorry. All right. Alderman Nichols.
To Alderman Sevenick's point, I think those conversations should happen here at this committee in the open and not behind closed doors. I agree that we may have some differences in opinion on the direction of things. I'm speaking for myself. I think it would be helpful to have a little more information in our packet based on information that was provided in previous similar situations. Would you like me to say what those
If you want
bits
to.
of information are? One of, looking back to what happened during the Public Works transition, we were provided the current organization chart and the proposed organization chart. So a bit of helpful information would be a current organizational chart, especially as it pertains to item 2 on the agenda. I think it would be helpful to have more specific information about the budget impact information, namely, the total salaries proposed versus what was budgeted, and any considerations that would be made for the finance manager position that wasn't
Right, part of this, yep.
part of this presentation. And I'll leave this one to the discretion of the chair, but it might be helpful to also know more about how responsibilities and job descriptions are changing or proposed to change.
Okay. No, I totally agree with you, Alderman Nichols. Part 2 on discussion items on the finance director and salary stuff too. I had also some questions too for the attorney and the mayor. As Alderman Sevenick stated, I was not involved in any of this that was put forward here with some of the ranges and salaries and grades and what the impact is and what's the offset. So I, of the 2 discussion items, would like to postpone the D2, the finance area, for another time. But I would like to discuss the senior center operations and staffing, because I think that is impertinent that we get that going, especially with the changes that they want to make. And I don't know if Director Tungate or Director McKinney would like to start off. Nancy, I'll let you talk first unless you and Brian have some other thoughts.
There was a motion on the floor, was there?
No. There was no second.
Well, you didn't get an option. I was
Oh.
gonna click mine and ask for a second.
Chair didn't recognize the second.
I
He
didn't hear the
it.
second.
Well, it was right.
Okay, then there was a
You don't have to recognize the second at this point if you want to listen.
yes, I do. I didn't want to listen to Nancy.
During our budget discussions, we noted that we felt in stepping back and looking at where our talents and our best use of funding would be is in operations of the city center, and that the YMCA would be best at running the exercise programs as they currently do. We step back because we have individuals that, or an individual that is actually has done that work and is currently on staff. And so that's kind of recapping what our discussion was last time. When we looked at the package that we put together for a contract for the YMCA, that package was comparable to what we could do as far as operating the senior center. And we felt, we talked to the YMCA, we discussed this with them. We've had transition discussions with them. They felt comfortable doing a contract in the month of January that would just operate the senior center with our staff meaning Park and Rec, really shadowing, and they felt comfortable doing that shadowing, so we could learn the ropes from them on the particulars of how they have been operating the senior center. Some of the advantages of the operations are that we would have the Park and Rec programs to strengthen the existing YMCA programs. YMCA would continue to offer the exercise programs as they currently do. They would be augmented by our Park and Rec department. We also have Rec Desk, which is something that we could use to register participants in a variety of programs and also capture some of the metrics that we needed to as far as who is from Menasha, how many people are coming in, what are their preferences for programming. So those are the things that went into all of the discussions that we've been having internally and then now recently with the YMCA. The YMCA has been open to this. So we have met with their leadership and with Park and Rec and the mayor, and we had a plan going forward starting January 1st through February, or January 31st, they would operate, we would be there to shadow. What we did is we worked to look at what would be needed to offer really high quality operations with staying within the budget that we currently have. And we looked at the reporting structure. I think it's on your handout that we had. So the reporting structure would be, and I know that you said what would be our previous organizational chart. Really the only difference in our previous organizational chart is the director, Park and Recs, would have a line down to the Senior Center Recreation Senior Services Manager, as that person would have functions both in Park and Rec and in the Health Department at the Senior Center. And then that person would have people reporting to them, the Senior Activity Coordinator and the Senior Center Clerk, which is a clerical position. So I can let Brian take over and talk about the positions that we had discussed.
Thank you, Nancy, for that summary. So, yeah, what you see in the memo is really what Nancy has segued into here. So we are, I guess, expanding the role of our current recreation supervisor position to a recreation/senior services manager. And as stated in the memo there, we have the range, the salary range, and again, this is all fits within the approved 2020 budget. So all the numbers you see in here, will fit within that approved budget. So then the next position there is the senior activity coordinator, and this is an important, I guess I'd call it sort of a number 2 position over there. This position, did exist about a decade ago when the city did run the senior center, and a very important position that we're going to need from a program planning standpoint. And I should state that we are very excited about the enhanced programming and that we can bring to the senior center and the experience that that some of our part-time Park and Rec staff has. We really do think it's going to be advantageous to the seniors over there from a programming standpoint. They're going to see bigger and better things hopefully going on there, and they're going to have a better experience there. So so the third position in line here then would be the clerk, the senior center part-time position. These would be probably 2 part-time people is what we're expecting to hire there. And it talks about, you see that the pay range indicated as well. It's about 15 hours a week. And those people will be very important as well. So, this is really the model that we see that can be successful to operate the senior center. And in some ways, it's, it's what we did 10 years ago or so. So it's not a great change from what had been in place. And, you know, with that, I guess we'd open it up to some questions. We feel like this is like I say, a good model to move forward with. And yeah, we need to, you know, be up and running by February 1st is the game plan right now.
Alderman Repella.
Thank you very much, Alderman Grady. I was very lucky to be able to visit the senior center last week, Wednesday or Thursday, and they happened to have a Christmas party that day. And went in, and I haven't been in there in probably at least 10 years. And it was sporadically used at that point when I went in there that one day, just for some cribbage or something. It was nothing major. And I had talked to the ladies who are working from the Y, some volunteers, one's an alderman from Neenah, and we talked about just how things are going there. I looked at their sheets for signing in. Boy, they had, they could tell you if the person was from Neenah, Menasha, Fox Crossing, Appleton, other. They had that all down detailed. And most of the people that are going to the senior center right now are Silver Sneaker people. And those are, they transitioned from the Y because they actually called it a satellite YMCA. Because they don't have the room at the YMCA right now, as far as they're filled to the gills. And they just have a couple rooms, and this works out really well for them to have an addition, like a smaller YMCA. They operate 8 to 4. I guess I have some questions. First off, how much money do we get from Winnebago County to sponsor our senior center?
So I know it's a little over $28,000 per year, 27, 28. And actually, that was one of the measures that we went back and checked on, is that how would the operations affect moving forward as far as the grant goes.
Right.
And they said we know best how to run our program at the city, and it would not affect our funding. In fact, I did talk with Bryn Seaman, who is our new project officer at Winnebago County for this particular grant, and requested, I took to heart our discussions and said, we need to ease the tax burden on the people in Menasha who are paying for the operations at the senior center. And she's new, and she was willing to go to bat and got an extra $1,000. And then I invited her to help us develop metrics next year so that we can actually show all of the work that we're doing and move forward and try to, ease the tax burden again. But also to make sure that we're headed in the direction that we can with the community here in Menasha, plus the funder that we have, the major funder.
Okay.
So I did take that opportunity to just describe exactly what it was that our concerns are. I did take an opportunity to go over to the senior center and greet people at the holiday party. That's usually very well attended,
Right,
and that's good.
okay, all right.
And as far as the Silver Sneakers with the exercise program that's going on, we did discuss the YMCA wanted to keep that ability to scan in Silver Sneakers, so we're looking at that with them. What we're trying to do is to make this as seamless as possible and to do it in partnership with the YMCA, them doing exercise programs, us doing the operations piece.
Okay, they get some money from those Silver Sneakers. Does that money go to the Y, or does that go to the city? How does that work?
My understanding is it goes to the YMCA.
Okay, all right. Next question. Did the new hire that Brian hired, did that drive the decision to do this senior center from the Y to the city? I mean, suppose Brian hired a person whose background was in softball, would we be going nuts with 10 new softball diamonds. Or you follow me? Because it seemed like once this new person was hired, this has started the ball rolling about the senior center. Was the senior center going to be decided without this new hire?
We had a couple different aha moments last year. The first one was, obviously we had somebody who was hired and did have senior center director experience, so that was great. And she, not only that, the second aha was we had a community dialogue with members of the seniors 55 and older. Remember we got a grant, I think you did it, we did a presentation for the
Right.
Common Council, and we learned a lot about the things that we wanted to move forward with, that they were looking for to live a longer, healthier life. And we used their concepts and thought a lot about their concepts, as well as thinking about, okay, what do we want to look like in 5 years? We had been doing strategic planning with our Committee on Aging. That was another aha moment where we were able to say, okay, we could help move this vision along. We're still in a relationship working with the YMCA, but we would be doing operations.
Okay, next question.
Excuse me, can I add just
Yes.
one point to that before we even hired a rec supervisor, the job description talked about collaborations with the health department, the library, all of this. So this segued just really nicely into our plans for that position, even before we knew they wanted, to bring over our rec supervisor.
Okay.
So,
All right, okay, thank you. I'm still some more. One thing that I did notice, is, like Nancy had mentioned, was that many of them are silver sneaker people. And according to what I was talked to, and again, this is just from the YMCA ladies that were there, the silver sneaker people are not happy that they're gonna be losing the people at the front desk and their relationships that they've kind of grown to work with for the number of years. And I'm just concerned that their silver sneaker people are going to maybe not participate in the senior center as much as they are now, and it goes back into what we had 10 years ago, with poor attendance and not much things being done. With that being said, and they're talking about they called it the Satellite YMCA. How the salaries for the city that we're gonna be paying for the service manager, the activity coordinator, and the clerks, how does that compare with the money that we pay to the YMCA?
So the YMCA has a contract, and the contract includes funds for a senior center director, and then a receptionist.
Okay,
That's $94,000.
Okay.
Would be higher this year, and then others are operational expenses that we have as a city.
right,
So we're proposing to do the operations and all of the other work at the same level. Then let me just step back. I think what we're gaining here is somebody who has experience, who is with the city and has the Park and Rec link, which is very good,
okay,
and is really interested in doing a lot of outreach. So I think that person will be very helpful in growing partnerships, not just with the YMCA, but with other entities.
okay,
The other is the activity coordinator that we were talking about.
okay,
We're looking at a bachelor's degree preferred individual that is really familiar with the 8 dimensions of wellness. So we touch on that. This is something that we would like to make a concerted effort to do. We also would like to see our volunteer base grow. What we heard clearly in the dialogues was that people wanted to give back to the community and that they didn't feel they had enough opportunities to do that. So when we did our strategic planning with the Committee on Aging, when we looked at this configuration, we wanted to make sure that there were volunteer opportunities as well as programs. I could go on
Right.
and on.
No,
'cause
no,
we
that's
really-
fine.
We went deeply into this to just really think about what would be best for the city.
Okay, and here's the.
And as far as the staffing goes at the senior center, the staff that's there are employees of the YMCA, they're not employees of the city.
Right,
So, your relationships as far as us having an influence on some of the operations is limited because you have a contract.
right.
So that, they take care of all the program operations except for our Wellness 60-plus program, which is our public health nurse, and that's a separate
Okay.
grant that supports her position. So we just feel this might be a better fit, having them come and do the exercise piece. Like we talked about doing the silver sneakers.
Right.
And then having our wellness component, but then bringing in the dimension of Park and Recs and the partnerships that they have and that they bring forward. So I think we're headed in the right direction, and it's budget neutral. And we're
Okay,
trying very hard to make sure that that budget remains neutral as far as the costs.
all right. So is the senior center going to be more of a rec office, on-site rec office where they can go, families can go register their kid to the pool or anything like that? Or they
This-
still have to come to the city?
As I think Brian mentioned this last time too, because it came up, but our objective is to have a senior center, and this
Okay.
person would be senior
Okay.
center director.
Now, the last question I have, has any thought been, since they did call it a satellite YMCA, any thought of
Didn't hear that.
offering the YMCA to buy the senior center?
I've never
they-
thought about that.
Okay,
That would
well, I
be
guess
up
I
to
did.
you all.
So, but they call it the satellite Y, they're running out of room. They got 5 YMCA's and this works out perfect for them. They said this is a godsend to have this building here for all of our programs that we don't have room for at these other YMCA's. So it would be nice if they would run buy it and use it as a satellite YMCA.
One of the things we heard in our dialogues is that they clearly wanted our seniors here, and which is over
Which-
25% of our population is 55 and older.
Right,
They clearly told us this summer they want a senior center, a Menasha senior center.
it
And,
would still be here, it's in Menasha. Then we would have the Nina Menasha YMCA. We'd have the Menasha in the Nina Menasha YMCA.
Okay, it sounds to me like it would be a YMCA.
Yeah, well, that's what it's, yeah, but they're all, most of the people are silver sneakers, so they go for almost free anyway. Yeah, they go for free anyway, with most of the health programs. I'm just,
Well, we're kind of getting off topic, I think, a
I
little
don't
bit
know
on
if we're
some of
getting off
that.
topic.
I think it would be a tremendous amount of planning to make that happen, and because that's something I think you'd all have to really think about and talk about.
Yeah, we're prepared for that. Okay, I guess I'm done. I'm looking around and I'm done, thank you.
Mayor?
I guess I'll comment a little bit on the satellite YMCA. Yeah, we've been happy with what the Y has been able to do there. They do a great job on exercise classes, but we've heard quite clearly from a number of our seniors that they want a senior center, and it has turned into a YMCA. And it's not a senior center anymore, and everything that they want to do, they're getting charged for. Even though they're Menasha residents, they're still getting charged to do all these things. And yes, it is working great for the YMCA. City of Menasha taxpayers are subsidizing this building for the YMCA at the tune of $75,000 a year. It's a great business model for them. So, yeah, the people in Neenah get all this without subsidizing it for $75,000 a year, and they can come over and use ours. We think that by operating this as a city facility, we can provide more services. We think we can give better discounts to our residents rather than subsidizing the entire Fox Cities as much. And we think we can still offer those Silver Sneakers programs that the Y is offering right now and those exercise programs, but enhance the other things that are happening there, all at the same price to the city taxpayers. So we think this is a really positive thing from all points of view. Yeah, change is hard sometimes for people, and we understand that, but we think that offering more services is what's really a better value to our seniors and to the people in our community, and that's why we want to go that way, rather than just being a satellite YMCA that the people of Menasha are paying for.
Alderman Sevenick.
Well, that's a very good point. That's exactly what's happening. And it's not just Neenah, but it's Fox Crossing. It is Harrison. It is Appleton. They don't have senior centers. I've had, just recently, Fox Crossing people contact me, upset with me because they feel that somehow I'm not being fair to them to use our Menasha Senior Center. And I said, need to explain that. I said, you could always go to your village and ask them to build you a senior center, and then we can have a reciprocity agreement and we can share our senior centers together and their activities. That's what's fair. Now I'm gonna kind of bump off of what Randy said here. So we have this facility. We recently stuck about $400 and something thousand into it recently as an upgrade. I was involved in 1982 building the original senior center. And we have this the Silver Sneaker program, but the Y gets the money for it, but they get to use our facility. We should be getting that money. There's something wrong there. And then we were paying them to use our facility. Randy is absolutely right. This is a satellite of the YMCA that they were using on the taxpayers of Menasha. So I guess part of the reason I wanted to have further discussion down the road is, are we going down the right path here? I'm not sure if we are or not, because I'm looking at these salaries again. We got another person who's gonna split their responsibilities, but again, we're looking at someone who's gonna be making top dollar. Not only that, but they're gonna be making, now they're gonna be part of the insurance program, now they're gonna have all the other roll-ups that come with this position, and it's probably about a $70,000 individual now. Plus, we're adding an activities coordinator, part-time, but still, you're probably adding about another $25,000. And then, the Fox Crossing person said, but I pay Winnebago County taxes. Well, so do I. And now I find out it's only $28,000? Big whoop. That barely covers the heat. So, Mayor, we have to pay for the operations of the facility, the maintenance of the facility. We paid for the facility. I'm not sure if did we bond or borrow for we might have borrowed for some of it. I know we asked the seniors to raise part of it, which wasn't the full amount. We ended up kicking in the remainder, addition on what we said we would kick in. So that's why I'm having a struggle here. I want a senior center, but are we running the senior center right by just hiring more people at big salaries? And then the Y still gets the dollars for the Silver Sneaker program. So I'll leave it at that. It's just a lot of questions out there that I'm not sure about.
Alderman Rapella.
Thank you very much, Alderman Grady. One other concern I do have is there enough people, is the success of the senior center, the success that they currently have, is that because of getting people from Neenah and Appleton and Fox Crossing and Harrison, that's what's making their programs, having a number of people there. If we just limit it to Menasha people, are we going to have enough people to be in these programs. They have different, knitting programs and stuff. Okay, maybe we got 7 people in the knitting program, but they all come over because of the silver sneaker, and then they stay to knit. All of a sudden, we have that knitting program or whatever, and there's only one Menasha person there. Is it really worth our while to have a knitting program with one Menasha person, where we could have people from Neenah and Appleton and Fox Crossing, 6, 7, 8 people in there working in knitting or whatever program you want to add. They've got a whole slew, that whole booklet went through, and you can detail it, take a little bit of work, but you can tell where everybody came from, Neenah, Appleton, Menasha, it's all listed in there, it's real easy to find. It'll just take a few hours to coordinate. You can tell where all these people came from and how many times they participated. I don't think we ever get that, but, I'm just concerned, is there enough people in Menasha to warrant having a senior center that's really busy right now, but could it go back to what Menasha had 10 years ago? And I know Brian said, well, we're gonna add different things like this, but remains to be seen. All right, thank you.
Alderman Taylor.
Well, certainly what we had before, I thought it worked, and then there was an idea here to involve the Y with it. And in the past, 10 years ago or whatever, we had a director, assistant person, and you walked in the side door, their office was right there. They knew who was coming and going, they could ask questions. And now with this addition, you have a nice office there. And, you know, I don't think we need to hire receptionists or people working if somebody wants to volunteer and that, but I think the director or the assistant, whatever, should be at that desk when you come in and taking care of the needs. And if you're gonna be in a program, you know, you should be able to pay for it to help support the program too. Like you said, if it's knitting or whatever, you know, you wanna use services, you should have to pay for them. You want a class, you should have to pay for it. So, I think the senior center's good. I have a little bit of problem with who's running it right now, because up to last week, that marquee out front said October 18th, there was something going on, all the way to the middle of the second week of December. I just looked out the window. You would think on the marquee there'd be something about happy holidays or something. You know, we have so many people coming downtown, the restaurant next door is always crowded. And you think we'd have something welcoming on there. There's nothing on there. They took down the October 18th a week ago, and now it's empty. And I don't think, we're working so hard here always to put our best foot forward in Menasha, and I don't know who's in charge of that right now, but I think there could be more of an effort to make that look nice, and I'll leave it at that.
Okay, any other questions for Brian or Nancy? If not, I'll. Oh, sorry, I forgot to.
Thank
Okay,
you,
Stan.
Chair. After digesting all that, I'd like to hear your comments. What do you think?
I think this is something we should do. I wouldn't propose it if I didn't think it was a good idea. And I think it's a good idea because we listened to what people were telling us this summer, and we have people that are capable within the city to do this work. I also think it maintains a relationship with the YMCA. You know, maybe in the future an idea that you proposed would be viable. Right now, I think this is a good direction.
The only thing that I would add to that is it would be a goal of ours to create a very welcoming environment
Yeah.
there. I know change is tough, but I'd like to think that we're going to hire some people who are going to make this a very comfortable, welcoming place and not just have it be a satellite YMCA. I think that's sort of our goal, is to create this positive, welcoming atmosphere there.
With that being said, then, let's say we approve this night or order. What if it doesn't go the way you expect? Let's say come July, we might have made a mistake here and we want to go back. Can we, or is there? Or do you have to sign a contract with the Y every year, and what if they say no?
My personal opinion is that I think that we will be really good at, like Brian described, there's 8 dimensions of wellness. Physical is one dimension. And we've got 7 other dimensions that we want to grow and bring forward. The social aspect, socioeconomic aspect, the intellectual aspect. I mean, there's just a lot of well-rounded things that we could do. And one thing we're doing at the health department that we hope to bring in is performance management, so that we can come back to you and say, look at how it's working. What do you think? I mean, I thought Alderman Sevenick challenged us at the budget meeting, to say, you know, what are our metrics and how can we make this affordable? And, you know, how are we doing? And are people better off? Not just how many people are coming in, but are they better off for what we're offering and doing? And I think that's achievable. I think that's an achievable performance management goal. And I think nobody knows what the future will bring, right? But we can really keep an eye on it and keep evaluating and looking at how we're improving or not, or what things need to be redirected.
Alderman Taylor.
I guess, you know, what I'd like to see is some numbers, you know, like, Brian, for instance, the swimming pool, you know, you see what the attendance is with the pool. When I got on the council, it was well over 40,000. Now we're down about 16,000. So I guess trying to get my arms around this number of how many people want to use it, how many people from the city. And when you took that survey this summer, was it just residents from the city of Menasha? Or was there Fox Crossing and other people on that survey?
Are you talking about for the 5-year, the outdoor rec plan? So what?
You said you're hearing from people. This summer you had something where you interviewed a lot of people, or you had a,
I don't, did I?
Nancy's survey.
Nancy's survey.
Our survey, oh, yes, we do. The majority, by far, were from Menasha. There were some from Fox Crossing and Neenah.
okay. So that did
Yep,
influence.
and we did a second just with males, because we didn't have enough men that were participating in the first survey. And then we also went to, we have about 8 or 9% Hispanic ethnicity in Menasha. So we worked with Bethel Lutheran Church, who has a program with folks who are Hispanic ethnicity, and we did a dialogue session with them. They didn't even know we had a senior center. That was my aha moment. And there's so much growth that can happen in that area where we can really work as a community and bring people together.
I don't know if you have some numbers, you know, and I know that's hard to do with the Y being involved with their programs too, but
Yep,
I don't know what the interest is.
I think I provided those that are, in fact, I
usually in the
might even.
minutes.
Well, I saw that, Richard, but how do you count and what do you count to?
Well, that's one of our challenges, because we don't operate the
Well, that's where that
program.
sign is good, and what municipality you're in, so we understand who's coming, because.
Exactly,
Yeah.
and that's where, you know, we're limited, you know, with a contract versus operating the center ourselves, because we don't have access to the metrics that you saw. I rely on a report that's done monthly, and that's given to the Committee on Aging. I can tell you, and it's a monthly report of how many visits and how many people. So I have 19,622 visits in calendar year 2018 by 9,053 people. I don't know how that's counted, quite frankly. I'm not sure how they work with metrics, and that's why I asked our project officer from Winnebago County to help us develop metrics. When we contacted the city of Oshkosh, because they have a senior center operated by their city, they have 4,000 people that come in the door. And this is over that, because I think we probably do attract, you know, people from Fox Crossing and other communities, but that's an awfully lot. So those are things that, you know, we'll be developing, and you already have the system to help us develop it, and I believe the library does similar work. So I think we'll be able to get a better handle on that and speak to it a little bit more.
Okay, thank you.
Alderman Repella.
Thank you very much, Alderman McGratty. First off, to me, it wouldn't be very difficult to walk over there every Friday and grab that book and just kind of ding, 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 go through it. It'd take you probably an hour, hour and a half, and you'd be able to figure out who was from Neenah, Menasha, Appleton, and whoever, because it was real simple. There was an N, there was an A, there was an O for other, there was a FC for Fox Crossing. Didn't take too much. You just had to sit down, find a chair, and you could figure it out within an hour, 2 hours. Every Friday, you'd figure out who was there that week. It was not complicated. So I'm disappointed that we haven't been able to figure out that we could walk over there and do that.
But we do have a contract, and that's what they do for us. And what I'm saying is,
But
I
they
don't
weren't
get
giving
them
you that
broken down.
report, so why couldn't you just go get that report yourself for that couple hours on Friday afternoon? You could have figured that out. Also, I would like to see if we could do this on like a one-year contract basis. Revisit this every year in October, see if this is worthwhile for the city. If not, then we approach the Y to see if they would like to purchase this from us. My goal is to get as many, the senior population is going up. I'm looking around here, most of us are in the senior population. And I'm not saying anything because I know you're gonna comment. Most of us are in that senior population.
I'm not either, Randy.
Okay, all right. Thank you, Don. Okay. But, so that it continues to grow. I was tickled pink to see all those people there for that Christmas thing. And looking at their book, there's many, many days that there's lots of things going on there. And so, I'm just glad there's a facility for all the seniors. And they said many of the seniors walk there. They come from some of the lower income apartments and stuff like that. That's awesome that they can come and leave some of those places and come to a nice facility that we have. It's kind of a nice change up where they get some nice surroundings. So, I would like to see that building utilized as much as possible. And if it's with the Y running it, so be it, or owning it, so be it. But I'd like to have like this on a one-year trial basis. That would be my suggestion. And also look at the book every Friday. We could easily figure out who's there. Thank you.
Alderman Sevenick.
Well, we beat this one to death, I think, almost, but I just, my feeling, and obviously you know where I'm coming from. The thing is, and it's my big issue, we continue to subsidize our surrounding communities all the time, but yet we're the high taxes, okay? I'm trying to find a way. I mean, I just got my tax bill today, it went up $130.
Mine went up
okay?
$350.
So, not happy, because I thought we did a better job, but I guess the school district needs to do a better job. But my, issue is, then can we work out, if they're paying for programs, can we do a non-resident fee compared to a resident fee? And that's where the Fox Crossing people were mad at me, and I'm like, wait a minute. You know, that's not fair to me, because you don't have a facility, we do. If you had a facility, you know, build one for $2-3 million, and then we'll both share our facilities. And right now, Appleton shut down theirs, and we're getting a lot of Appleton people now too, so, and, you know, yeah, hey, this is the first time I've ever said this, I'm a senior. Very first time I ever said it in my life, okay? So, I want this to work too. It's just that I was elected to try to provide services at the lowest cost, but it's hard to do when we're always subsidizing our surrounding communities. And I just want us to find another way of possibly making it fair for those of us who actually live in the city and pay taxes.
We did have a lot of conversation about that. Did you want to share what your thoughts were?
Okay. So, since Director McKinney has been here, We've asked annually to the YMCA to provide more information about revenues and what's coming into the facility, fundraising opportunities for the facility. Our goal has always been to try to have that facility operate without a City of Menasha subsidy. We thought it was fair to have the Winnebago County subsidy because we're all part of the county, that's fine, but we shouldn't be subsidizing at the city level. We were never able to get that information, and we do feel that there's some opportunities through some foundations, some fundraising sponsorship opportunities and other things like that that could help offset more of those costs and get us much closer to that zero city subsidy, but we've never, ever been able to get the Y to give us that information and help us with that. Because they kind of are sitting on a kind of a touchy stool that can they raise for the senior center or for their facility? And how do you separate the two of them and how do you do that? So we felt that there were opportunities there to do more fundraising, and we think that we can do more as time goes on by having this run by the city rather than an outside facility, especially if we're gonna subsidize it.
Okay, thank you. Alderman Taylor.
You're gonna acknowledge my second to adjourn?
Is that your question?
That was my motion.
No.
Well, I think we want to try to take some kind of action.
We're gonna, any other questions for the two directors on this? If not, I'll entertain a motion here.
Okay.
No. Go ahead, Mayor.
I'll make the motion to approve the creation of a full-time rec senior center services manager with a placement at grade 20 on the salary range in the place of the part-time rec supervisor position, and approve the creation of a part-time senior center activity coordinator position with a placement at the hourly pay range schedule at $18.05 to $20.20 midpoint and $22.38 maximum, and approve the creation of a part-time clerk senior center position with an hourly pay range of $13 to $16, with the understanding that these are budget neutral and based upon what was in the 2020 budget.
We do have a motion, we do have a second by Alderman Tom Grady. Alderman Langdon.
Thank you, Chair. So in this, Nancy, it talks about a manager position. Do they have degrees?
Yes. The coordinator position is bachelor degree preferred. There's a lot of training in that position too.
Okay, so all these positions, then they have degrees.
The clerk does not.
Well, except for the clerk. All right, thank you.
Alderman Sevenick.
I just still have, I mean, if we're, obviously, it's not going in a direction I'd like. I want to support it. I'm looking at a way of possibly combining some of this and this clerk senior center position. I don't know how vital that is, why the senior activities coordinator and even the recreational senior service manager can't do some of that work.
Can I
Or
take-
even volunteers.
Well, so, our current rec supervisor has done a pretty in-depth analysis, taking the whole year and the number of hours, within a year, and has looked at volunteers being an important part of that, but we want to have two staff people there from a safety standpoint and a liability standpoint, whether it's a paid staff or a volunteer or, you know, we need to have two staff people there really at all times. And also keep in mind that, you know, our current rec supervisor, it's been contemplated that, you know, she would spend about a third of her time at the senior center. And we, you know, the other 2/3 would be in recreation. So, you know, we have this balance that we're trying to achieve there. We want to enhance our overall city recreation program a little bit more than what we currently have. But we also understand that there's, you know, some important functions to be carried out at the senior center as well. So we're in a unique position there, and we have, I guess, a pretty unique individual who's able to fill both those roles, we think, quite well. So I guess that's what I wanted to
Well, I
to
think
share
the
with you
most
on that.
important point that you just raised to me, I agree with, and as far as operations, that there should be at least 2 people down there at all times in case of something happening.
Yep.
But I'll support this, but I still think that we need to explore a break for our taxpayers that are paying for this facility, and those who don't should help out in paying a little bit more to use the facility. It's just not fair to my neighbors.
Alderman Repella?
Thank you very much, Alderman Grady. You are so with it tonight. All right, adding up the 15, the 17, and the 15, that comes to 42 hours. Is that what you were looking at as far as having it staffed? Brian?
Well, those are, I guess, rounded up figures. We're anticipating our recreation person there 2 days a week. And,
So that would be 16 hours.
well, based on a, 7.5 hour, I mean, that would be the paid amount. Yes, they'd be there
Okay.
8 hours, but the paid amount
Sure,
is,
gotcha.
is
Yep,
15
yep.
hours. And so, yeah, the senior activity coordinator, yeah, about 17 hours a week. And then, a couple of clerk positions,
So that'd be
15.
34 hours, or each one would be there 8.5 hours,
approximately, yeah, yes.
approximately 8.5 hours they'd be there. So one person would be hired for 8.5 hours, the other person would be hired for 8.5 hours.
Those are, yeah, part-time,
Yes, so 8.5 hours for Suzie Q and 8.5 hours for Betty Botter. Or,
well, we had based this more on, taking 52 weeks a year, 2,080 hours, and we had about a 4,000 hour that, bit of time that we had to
Right.
fill. So how much of that time was gonna be filled by our rec supervisor? How much time is gonna be
Right.
filled by our rec? And so, and that left a gap of 800 and so hours that we had to have volunteers. So we haven't, in fact, what you see in front of you, doesn't really factor in the volunteers as well that we wanna
Right.
cultivate and have them in there.
So it would be
That's how
open-
we did it.
okay, so, but I mean, you could take it down and make it into a smaller 40-hour week, 8 to 4, 5 days a week, that's 40 hours. And so I guess I'm running into difficulty with your numbers, because I don't think there should be, whatever, I don't know if there needs to be 2 clerks or 1 clerk. And working 15 hours or 8.5 hours. So that still remains to be seen, because I don't think we're all got muddied numbers here. Will the Y still get their senior sneaker kickback when they do the exercise classes, Nancy?
Currently,
They do it now, so in February 1st, will they start getting that, will they continue to get that kickback of silver seeker money?
they have requested that.
Okay? What, do you know how much they get per month?
No, I do not.
You,
That is, we have a contract, so there's only so much that we know about their operations. So I don't know how much they get per month with Silver Sneakers, I don't.
oh, is there any way that you could call up an insurance company and figure out something like that do some digging, under the table digging somehow?
So they have someone who is listed as their manager or their contact person.
Sure,
I'm not sure I could get their information.
okay. because that would be huge if we could get the money from the Silver Sneaker thing. So Brian, did you go ahead and figure out the 15, 17, and 15 hours yet, out of 40 weeks, 40 hours?
If you take 15, 17, 15, and 15, it's 62.
42.
62, 215 is correct.
Oh, okay, I thought it was 115, but
And
that's why I
if-
was trying to
and if
figure
you
that out.
have
And then the
people-
gap would be filled in with volunteers.
Right,
if
but that's
you-
62 hours.
And if you
the-
have two people there all the time, that
Let's
would
see.
be 75 hours, so that would mean we'd have 13 hours worth of volunteers.
Okay,
We used to have two full-time people at that facility when the city ran it in the past.
okay. Got
So we would have 13 hours less per week now than we did 10 or 11 years ago when the city
Okay.
last ran
All
that.
right,
Sorry for butting in, Tim.
okay, all right. Thank you very much, Don. Thank you.
Alderman Taylor. You're saying people want to volunteer, they want to own their senior center, and the clerk's position to me is just, that front desk there should be somebody's office, and the coordinator or the supervisor, whatever, to have just a clerk's position for two other positions. I don't agree with that.
I would say that we would
Have it
be needing to rely too much on volunteers at that point, and we don't know, we believe there are volunteers available, but we need, I think, to have the assurances of having these paid positions in order to just hit the ground running. If a year from now or whatever, maybe we find out we have more volunteers, and they're all trained and they're doing a great job, and we can cut back, but I think initially, we really need these clerk positions in there.
And these don't pay insurance or benefits or anything? No.
Not on the clerk position.
Not the
no.
volunteers, no.
Okay.
And just a comment about the volunteers. They do have like a time and talents.
Well, it sounded like in your
Form.
sales pitch that, boy, these people really want to be involved, they
They
really
do,
want to work
they
there,
do want to
wanna
be
part of
involved,
their-
but I think the other issue is you don't want to over-rely on volunteers. It'd be difficult. We want to train them as volunteers, but they're not employees, so you have to be cautious how you're using them. The folks that we're proposing here are CPA, or CPR first aid certified. And then, we want to make sure there's some assurances that they're safe and, operate the senior center to our standards.
That's what sold me.
Alderman Rapella.
Thank you very much, Alderman Grady. I agree with Stan, and as far as, I do believe we need two official paid people there staffing the senior center at all times. Has any thought been to move a health situation or a recreation person and staff it with one of those people over there? And that would eat up one of the official hirees from the city, because they would be a satellite nursing, a satellite health department over at there. And then they would kill two birds with two stones, or two birds with one stone.
Currently, we do have a public health nurse that's there 12 hours per week.
Well, there you go. That would
But
be.
it doesn't, she is there to do, nursing functions and also to go, she offers programs and
Right.
also brings in different screeners and healthcare providers.
But that would be our second paid position there, and so that,
Oh.
that senior activity coordinator could kind of work the front desk and do a bunch, it could be worked out somehow.
I don't think she would have time to assume those duties, but I'm sure if she's there and she had free time, that she would be willing to jump in. She knows people very well.
Okay.
They like her, she's trusted and all of that, but that's not the position we hired her for.
Sure,
And the grant covers her to do
Okay.
the senior center nursing.
so there's no rec person, Brian, that could have a satellite rec department and hire, sell, pool passes or anything like that, that could be there? I'm just throwing that out there.
No, I think not initially. I don't think so. As time goes on, maybe there's some flexibility, but just initially, I don't think there is.
Okay, because once they're hired, it's hard to get rid of them, so, all right, thank you.
All right, any other questions? We do have a motion and a second on the floor, so with that, clerk will take a voice vote. Voice vote.
Mayor Merkus?
Aye.
Alderman Nichols? Alderman Taylor? Alderman Sevenick? Alderman Langdon? Alderman Tom Grady? Alderman Ted Grady?
Aye.
Alderman Repella?
Aye.
Motion carried on roll call 8-0.
No, I didn't vote twice.
You should have, you're gonna be running the center. Oh, no.
No, I would have said me. I would have said me. No.
That's what said me, no. Yeah, we're gonna get ready to, call this an evening here, since we are not going to talk about the finance director. I think Alderman Nichols brought up some good points, and we should sit back down, Attorney Captain, and review some of these numbers. So with that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Is there a second? We got a motion and a second by Alderman Tom Grady. All those in favor?